Okay, well, we'll go ahead and start. And good evening, everybody. My name is Les King. I'm the chairman of the committee, and I apologize. I don't have my picture up there. I'm having trouble with my webcam today, so I apologize for that. But welcome, everybody. We do have, just so everybody here knows, we do have a couple people from the city. I think everybody knows Kathy Crease is online. She's the director of community services. Kiana is online from the same office. Myself, a committee member. Mark Marcy is a committee member, and Gemma is a committee member that is also online. So those are the three that are with us this evening, and then the applicants. So everybody can see the applicants as we come up on the different projects. And basically what this is I think almost, if not all of you, have done this before with us. And it's just a short, anything you'd like to add in addition to your application. We don't need to talk about specifically about the application or try and go through it, because we've already read through that. There may be some questions pertaining to it, but anything else you'd like to add or to sort of highlight for the committee to really pay attention to. So that's sort of why we are here. And I don't know, Kathy, did you want to say anything before we get started?
I thought I would do it under communications.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Absolutely. Okay, so we will go ahead and get started. We have the first one is children in placement. This is number 2 in the book for the committee members. And I believe we have Janet Freemuth. I'm probably mispronouncing your name, I'm sure, but I apologize for that. But
no problem. Thank you so much. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm Janet Freemuth, ED of Children in Placement. Our regional officers for the Norwich office is actually in Superior Court in Waterford, that we do, and our administrative office is in New Haven. For 43 years, Children in Placement has recruited, trained, and managed volunteers to serve as guardians ad litem in court to support hundreds of abused and neglected children statewide each year. We are the only agency to do this, and we are not widely known because our work is in the court and with the Department of Children and Families. While DCF caseworkers have upwards of 30 cases to manage and attorneys have many more, our volunteers take on 1 or 2 cases. In 2020, there were 547 cases of abuse reported and accepted in Norwich alone. During this unprecedented time, our team worked diligently to ensure that children in our caseload and their families' basic needs were met above and beyond what our normal responsibilities are, because families were shuttered and stressed. We are requesting funding to support our efforts to recruit additional guardians ad litem and provide staff support to manage these cases. The leading cause of abuse and neglect is poverty and substance use. In Norwich, like every large urban city, there's a higher rate of families at or below the poverty level, which in Norwich is 1 in 6 for the general population, but it's 1 in 5 for children. CIP's volunteers take on the toughest cases and provide a thorough report to the court so that the judge can make an informed decision on the safe, permanent placement of a child. There is much work to be done. Studies show that when a GAL volunteer is involved in a child protection case, the child and their family receive more court-ordered services, and the child's case is more likely to be permanently closed. And the child is on the road to permanency in a shorter period of time as compared to children in child protection cases without a GAL representing them. CIP receives half of its budget from state funding, but we rely heavily on funding from cities and other funders to provide the much needed service to children. Our regional office is currently serving 26 children, many from the city itself. We take 100% of the cases assigned to us. If you remember nothing else, please know that the volunteer is the one voice whose sole allegiance is to speak up for the child's best interest while simultaneously monitoring the child's ongoing safety and standing by the child as they endure court trials, motions, and hearings. Our volunteers ensure that the potential barriers that could otherwise impede the child's path to a safe and permanent home are removed as quickly as possible. Thank you for your consideration.
okay, and any questions from the committee members? Maybe doesn't look like it. I do have just a couple.
Sure.
This is the regional manager. This is some of the money is being asked for. Part of that money would be going to salaries for the regional manager. Where would that regional manager work out of?
So in Norwich, so there's two ways this happens. So our office is in the Waterford Court, that's Superior Court. So that's when DCF has custody of the child. But we also work in the Norwich Probate Court, and that's when, like, say, grandma says, "Hey, my daughter's not doing so well. I'd like to take guardianship of the kids." So those Norwich cases could be heard in the Norwich Probate Court, or Norwich cases could be heard in the Waterford Superior Court, depending on who has custody of the children.
Okay, so there is no physical location actually in Norwich. It's more
Correct.
Bringing somebody in locally if we need it to do it in here. Okay, and how do you track and keep track of Norwich residents only? Do you have a good system for? So
we take the demographics from the kids, and we have a pretty broad database that, not only do we have to, do we keep track for, like, my information, but we also have to track that for the state. And so, we give monthly reports to them. I track it just for these very opportunities, so that I know how many children that we have in Norwich. So that's all in our database as well.
Okay, so you have a good system for that, so that we just have to make sure that the community development office is able to track the money that goes to Norwich residents only.
Right, and then when we file our reports, that's only for the Norwich families.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And the guardian ad litem, those are volunteers, is that correct?
They are.
Okay. And yeah, you give them some kind of training and they can speak for the child in the court system?
Yeah, so in some situations, an attorney may be assigned to be the guardian ad litem, but the courts like us because we do provide the volunteers who are really, dedicated and committed. Otherwise, they wouldn't be volunteering. But so they are the ones, they are trained. It's 40 hours of training to start, and then it's 12 hours annually. And they go and they do an investigation just like DCF would. But like I said, DCF has a lot of cases, and our GALs only have one or two. So they probably see the children. I'm certain they see the children more often than DCF does. And really, does an investigation and provides an unbiased account to the court. And that's what the courts like about it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And anybody else have questions? Okay, hearing none, I guess we're all set. Thank you very much.
Appreciate so much.
Hi, Les. This is Kathy talking. We have a Kay Barney on waiting to come into the meeting. If she could tell us who she is so we can determine whether we can let her in or not. I haven't received a response yet. Kay Barney? Okay, I guess not.
Kathy, if I may interject, I'm sorry. I don't know if this is the same experience for her, but I wasn't able to enter anything in the chat or verbalize when I was in the waiting room.
Oh, I got yours, John Paul.
Oh, you did? I think perfect then.
Yeah, you did, you, Janet, and Roberta actually all, because I was starting to wonder if maybe it was me too.
All right, thanks, Dan.
All right, no problem. Thanks.
Okay, then we'll go on to the next one. The next one is Safe Futures, and that is number 3 in the books. And I don't know who's here for Safe Futures.
Is Margaret Sushloff here?
Yes.
Margaret?
Catherine. No, I don't see any name on here that looks familiar.
Okay, can we move on to the next one
Yep.
and go back to that one then?
Absolutely. So we'll
Okay.
go on to the Thames River Valley Family Program. And that one is number 4 in the book.
Hi, this is Kathy Allen. Can you see me?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Okay. I couldn't get my laptop to work, so I'm on my phone. So,
Okay.
but I can't see you, but if you can see me, I'm good.
Yeah, I for myself, I apologize. I'm having trouble with my webcam today, but
Yep, I heard you say that.
Okay, yeah. So if you want to go ahead and
Sure.
just go ahead with your presentation, that would be great.
Yep. Again, my name is Kathy Allen. I'm the Executive Director of Thames River Community Service. And the program that we're referring to today is Thames River Family Program. That's our transitional housing program. Since 2017, we have provided housing and services to young adult parents and their children. So our young adults are 18 to 24. Our history is that Thames River Family Program has been around for 30 years, and we served 18 women who were 18 and above. Now we focus on young adults because those are the ages that it's believed they need the most support in being able to leave situations of homelessness and gain stability, both housing stability and economic stability. So what we're realizing, what they need the most, especially what we realized during the pandemic, is employment support. They can get a job often, able to get a job, but they're not able to keep it. And they need support in finding jobs that are suitable for them, finding jobs that will allow them to, not just, McDonald's, but, have the opportunity to go up the ladder a little bit and gain more economic stability with the right kind of job. And so what we're looking for, as you read, is to enhance our employment program and to have an employment specialist, a youth employment specialist, who really can focus on what youth need and provide supports for them in that area. Okay. So I thank you for your consideration.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. We appreciate that. The committee members, any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Okay. So these are all for Kathy. This is for Norwich residents?
They all, while they're at Thames River Family Program, live in Norwich.
Okay.
And our agency, our offices are in Norwich, yes.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Kathy.
Yeah.
This is Gemma. I'm apologize. I'm off screen right now, but
okay.
Your presentation. When you say young adults, and I may have missed this in the actual application itself, but what's the age range?
18 to 24.
Got it. And you provide, I mean, just in layman's terms, basically, what is a general day working with a young adult?
Well, first in our building, we have 24 apartments. So they have a furnished apartment when they move in. And we work with them on life skills. They set goals when they come in, try to look at credit scores, look at their history and see where there are areas of, where they need to gain more stability, I guess, or gain more knowledge in certain areas, and parenting and tenancy, how to be a good employer, how to apply for jobs, that sort of thing. So the day, working with their children, they have a case manager who first of all focuses on their what their goals are going to be while they're here, and then trying to find the resources that will help them achieve those goals. So we meet with them, our regular case managers meet with them at least once a week, but because we're a 24-hour, 7 days a week staffed program, people are available to them at all times. So that's in general, we help them with their parenting, finding childcare, accessing transportation, especially during the pandemic, was just, helping them to find the resources that they needed and to access the resources that they needed via Zoom, which for a lot of them, was difficult. So, I always tell our staff that we live in the building. I mean, our offices are in the building where they live. So we're, whatever is needed during that time, we're there to help them. So every day may look different, and it may look different for each family. We may be helping one mom. We had a young mom who had, she was working online. She had 2 children and another one on the way. And one child was identified with autism, and the second probably is going to be identified with autism at some point as well. It's just too young. And, you know, working with her was helping her to try to manage these children, work online, you know, and get what they needed, get services in place for them. So it varies with everybody.
Sure. So it's a lot of navigation.
A lot of navigation.
Yeah, I would understand. Understood. And so they all live, I mean, in terms of the recruitment strategy per se, I mean, how do you
Okay.
go to actually
Find them?
find them?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, what's and how many are you looking at?
we have 24 families in our building. So 24 right now, we probably have with children, and some are couples. So we may have about 48 adults in the building. Yeah, well, no, adults and children in the building right now. So everybody, so when somebody finds themselves unstably housed or homeless, the first thing that they would do, if it's a young adult, and we hear about it, we get a referral from somebody, we usually call them first, just to touch base with them, just to, you know, answer any questions they have about their situation, and maybe we can, you know, help them find a place without having to come through the homeless, our homeless system. It's called our coordinated access network. Then the next thing that they would do is they have to call info line 211, and info line will take some information, and they'll be given an appointment for an assessment. And if it's a youth, 18 to 24, their appointment is with us. Our program manager does their appointment, and one of the things we want to help them to help us to decide is what resources in the community do we have that would best meet their needs. If they're truly homeless on the street and need a place to go immediately, we refer them to shelters. You know, they would go into one of the homeless shelters, and then from there, if they're eligible for Thames River Family Program, we would work with them on moving them into our program. So so it's we don't get referrals directly. Everybody that, you know, is experiencing homelessness has to go through our coordinated access network for our region.
Understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. And I also see that you do a lot of collaboration with other programs and organizations as well too. Just looking through your application as well. I guess I'll just end it with just thank you very much.
Yeah.
For what you do.
You're well. Yeah, it takes, you know, I mean, it's a cliche, but it really does take a village.
I get it.
Thanks.
Okay, and I have a question also, sort of a follow-up on Mark's. One of the things we have to be very careful of is that we serve Norwich residents only. And I know your program is in Norwich, but do you keep track of origination for your clients? You know, once you move them into your program, at that point they live in Norwich, but they're not really Norwich residents from Norwich. So do you keep track of that? Because this program specifically says there's going to be 70 Norwich residents helped. And on the one sheet, it shows the whole program is going to be only Norwich residents. Like there's nobody else that's going to be in there except Norwich originated residents.
Well, the program is working on their employment needs while they're in our program. And so it's 70 because families are only allowed to stay here for so long. And as they move, other families move in. So we may have 48, 45, adults. We may have 36 or some adults in here right now, but they're going to move and other families are going to move in. So it could be 70 adults during the year.
Right, and once they're, just to clarify, once they're living there, they are a Norwich resident, so they would be eligible for the employment program, which is what she's applying for.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Les, I also have a question with regards to that, because obviously this is an important aspect of CDBG funding with regards to the city of Norwich. But if somebody is homeless and then seeks assistance via the city of Norwich, wouldn't that be then, and I apologize about the background noise, but wouldn't that then automatically sort of qualify them for the eligibility requirements of CDBG funding?
I think it depends on the program. Kathy can ask that better than I could, answer that better than I could, but it really depends on the program, because in the past there was programs that would bring them into Norwich, and then, as you know, not originating from Norwich, not Norwich residents, but because the program was here, they would come in under a program, which would give them access to many more programs.
Right. But as far as declaring residency goes, once someone actually lives in Norwich for, I think it's 24 hours, they can declare that their residence. They'll have a stable place. They have an apartment. It is their residence for, I think, up to 2 years. Is it, Kathy?
For at least a year. It's a year.
So
For a year.
yeah. So they
And-
they would. If you were just bringing people in from New London because the program was in Norwich and they were going back to New London at night, those are not Norwich residents.
Exactly. And yeah, exactly. They're actually, when they're living in a shelter or some other situation of homelessness, they don't have an address, right? So they can't get their mail, all of that. So once they move in here, everything is established. Their tax, if they pay any taxes, or if they receive federal assistance, their address, all of their address is here. All of their mail comes to the USPS here to our building.
Okay.
They pay Norwich Public Utility utility.
So
Okay.
And Kathy,
Feels
please,
like right now.
very much. I mean, I appreciate the clarification with regards to homelessness itself, because that's a very amorphous kind of thing right there.
Yeah.
If you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
out and obviously, and you established, a commitment with the city of Norwich, and that is a program such as you all offer in terms of, helping with that. I would think that regardless of where they kind of originated from, if they are really classified as homeless, and they don't go back every night to, let's say, New London, that this would kind of qualify them. But, Kathy Crees, obviously you're the expert in terms of, navigating that whole thing. But it was really just more of the homelessness and how that works.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if there's no more questions, Kathy, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Should I log off? Or
Yeah,
do you-
yeah, you can stick
That's the way
around
it
for the
goes.
rest of it, or you can
Okay.
go ahead and log off. We're
You're
all
welcome
set.
to.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I know in person you get to leave, but I just
No,
wanted to make sure.
we're all done with you, and we're
Okay.
going to go through the rest of the applicants. So,
All right. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
that.
Bye-bye,
Let
everybody.
you know that Safe Futures is now online.
Okay.
They
So
were having
let's
difficulty getting in.
go back to Safe Futures for the committee members. That's number 3 in the book.
Hello.
And hello. Okay, there we go.
Hi, I'm Margaret Susoff. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Safe Futures. There's 4 of us are going to be involved in our presentation. 3 of us are together, Christine Foster, Shauna Harrington, and then Kevin Barney as well, who's not with us. So we just wanted to start off by thanking Norwich for supporting us for many years through the Norwich CDBG, for our Norwich Counseling Office, and also for the Vail program. Safe Futures is the only agency in Southeastern Connecticut exclusively serving victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and trafficking. And I know that, the pandemic is still on everybody's minds, as COVID-19 is still causing issues. And throughout the pandemic, from March 2020, we have been completely operational with COVID-19 precautions in place. And actually last year, we served almost 10,000 victims, which was actually a 39% increase from the year before. And so victims took advantage of our services, supports, and housing programs. Yearly, we serve about 25% of victims from Norwich who have access to all the same services. We define our services as trauma-informed, provided with equality, equity, liberation, and inclusion, survivor-centered, and voluntary. All our programs and services are free of charge and confidential to victims in need, regardless of their income level, ethnicity, race, age, religion, ability, and gender. We formed in Norwich, we have, I'm gonna talk about our services, but we sort of capture them under what we call the Norwich Domestic Violence Response Team. And that's all the programs in Norwich are interconnected, although we're only asking funding for Norwich Counseling and Vail. But we also have family violence victim advocates in the criminal Norwich court. We have civil family violence victim advocates in the Norwich court. We do weekly support groups, which actually through COVID have been on a conference line, but in the past they've been in Norwich weekly. We also recently acquired 2 on-site programs in Norwich, Katie Blair House, which is a short-term safe living program for victims on their journey to recovery, and also Flora O'Neill Apartments, which is an on-site permanent supportive housing program. We feel we're very committed to being in Norwich. Norwich, from the Connecticut Family Violence 2020 arrest report, is actually, of the 169 towns in Connecticut, Norwich had the highest family violence offense rate per capita in the state. And also since 2015, of the intimate partner murders in the state, there's been 3 in Norwich. So the need, we're committed to continue to offer our services in Norwich. And now I'm gonna turn it over to Christine Foster, who will explain about our counseling office.
Good evening,
Okay.
everyone. Thanks again for your time. As Margaret mentioned, Safe Futures provides a wide range of services to meet the needs of victims and their families. At our Counseling and Advocacy office, we provide immediate crisis intervention as well as ongoing support. This can include safety planning, connections to emergency shelter services, which may be at our safe house or with one of our sister agencies. We often provide transportation assistance. That may be help getting to a restraining order hearing or transportation to get to a safe location or to family if someone is choosing to relocate as part of their fleeing from violence. We provide housing advocacy, help with goal setting, and employment and education support, as well as counseling to help victims increase their self-esteem, better understand the dynamics of domestic violence, develop skills to set healthy boundaries, and identify red flags in future relationships. We provide basic need items such as toiletries, clothing, and food assistance. The location of the Norwich office is particularly important. It allows us to increase the accessibility of our services to Norwich residents. There is a bus stop directly out front. Victims can make an appointment or walk in. We also offer services over the phone or virtually for those clients that can't come in person. It is located across the street from the courthouse, so clients referred from court only need to go across the street to access counseling and crisis services. The office is also in close proximity to the Department of Children and Families, with whom we work very close to support victims and their children who have been impacted by domestic violence. And also, as Margaret said, all of our services are free and confidential, and we believe that every person deserves to live a life free from violence. So we serve any victim of domestic violence, regardless of their gender, their ethnicity, the language they speak, or any other factors. That's really just an overview. We do provide a wide variety of service that really is focused on each individual person's situation and needs, so varies a lot from person to person. A few of the other things we may do are assisting clients with accessing the Office of Victim Services Victim Compensation Fund. We help them with their applications. We help victims sign up for address confidentiality programs to help increase their level of safety and to apply for and access public benefits as well. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Barney, and he's going to talk about the VAIL program. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon to the committee, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. My name is Kevin Barney. I'm the Regional Law Enforcement Victim Advocate, and I'm assigned into the region, but I do spend a lot of time in Norwich. About a year and a half ago, I started at Safe Futures. I replaced Lindsay Michaels, who is now a Montville police officer. And when I took Lindsay's job, I retired as a police officer. I have 38 years experience in the law enforcement field as a police officer, a police supervisor, and a police trainer. 33 of those years of experience have been in Southeastern Connecticut. And back in 1997, I was a participant when I was a member of the New London Police Department in the Domestic Violence Response Team, which was part of a grant from Norwich Police Department, Stonington Police Department, and the Groton City Police Department. And I worked closely with Pete Pederides at that time. I have a good working relationship with Chief Daly, Deputy Chief Poor, Captain Vega, and Officer Bly, who is the domestic violence liaison for the Norwich Police Department. I'm a certified instructor in domestic violence, and I've taught at the Police Academy and for recruits, and I've also taught at research on the Law Enforcement Council, which includes many Norwich officers, and I've taught Norwich officers since I've since been doing this job. I know during COVID we've had to adapt our way, but we still have continuous service to both the departments and the victims, and it's only been modified. It has not been interrupted. I make weekly contacts or on a regular basis with Officer Bly up in the Norwich Police Department. I receive and review police reports on domestic violence, and I contact those victims. And I, at the same time, have trained some of the Norwich officers in domestic violence as well. And the way I go about my job is that I contact the victims by phone or email. I contact the police departments in person by phone or by email. And I contact the court investigator by phone or in person. Mainly, I want to do that to assure the victim that police are there to help and not to punish. I want to answer the victim's questions as to why the police did what they did, and answer the victim's questions concerning why police may have seized some personal items for evidence. I'm hoping to instill confidence to the victim that the system includes the police, the courts, court advocates, the prosecutors, the judge will work on their behalf. The goal is to keep the victim safe and to stop any repeat occurrences of domestic violence in the home. Give confidence for the victim that the police are there and they should not hesitate to call at any time. Explain the services offered at Safe Futures, and I work very closely with many of the advocates, both in Norwich and in New London as well. When an advocate has a question or they want me to contact a victim, they as well contact me, and I can refer them to Safe Futures staff, other staff members. And I reiterate the safety plan. Domestic violence laws are changing constantly every year, and it's important to receive this training. I work very closely with Shauna Harrington, who was our next speaker, and the steady flow of information for the services that the officers provide in the field at the scene of a domestic violence to the advocates on a hotline basis, and she'll explain that more. The key component is the goal is to ensure that the victim's needs are met and they are placed in a safe, secure environment. Thank you again, and I will turn this over to Shauna Harrington.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Shauna Harrington. I'm the Court Support and Lab Coordinator for Safe Futures. I oversee criminal court advocates in both New London and Norwich courts, the civil advocate in the Norwich court, and work closely with Kevin, our regional law enforcement victim advocate, who, as he just told you, works closely with all municipal, state, tribal, and college police departments on the process of connecting victims to services immediately when they are assessed at high risk of murder. And I should have clarified that LAP coordinator stands for Lethality Assessment Program, which is the connecting of victims to services at the time of an arrest. Often a lethality assessment call or an arrest are a victim's first introduction to all of our other services. From there, we'll refer victims to our many other services, which include but are not limited to the other resources in Norwich that Margaret mentioned, Flora O'Neill, Katie Blair House, and our counseling office, which is just a short walk from the Norwich courthouse. At any given time, we have over 3,000 cases pending in the court system, and over 35% of the criminal docket are domestic violence cases, which is a number that's only increasing. Our criminal court advocate's role is to work with victims from the time someone is arrested for domestic violence until the case is adjudicated. The advocate's role is to safety plan every step of the way and make sure victims' rights are upheld by attending pretrial discussions, participating in multidisciplinary teams, and it's also important to note that we are the only confidential office in both the New London and Norwich courthouses. I will just highlight too the role of our civil court advocate, who is located only in the Norwich courthouse, and she assists victims in filing for restraining orders and other domestic violence related matters such as divorce and emergency custody filings. From there, I'll turn it over to any questions.
Right, do you have any questions for us?
Okay, any committee members that have any questions? That was a very thorough presentation. You guys did a great job. So I don't have any questions. If the committee members don't have anything, then I would like to thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you, really.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Absolutely. Thank you.
bye, have a good night.
Hey, yes, you too. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, the next one on the list is Madonna Place, and that is number 5 in the book. And it looks like Claire, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good, thank you. So we're all set. Go right ahead.
Okay, so first, thank you for your consideration and this opportunity to present. And thank you for previous funding that we've received. Madonna Place is located right on Main Street. So we're at 240 Main Street. The mission is to provide services which strengthen families, promote health, and prevent child abuse and neglect. So since 1987, we've been working with families to help strengthen their families. Our services are provided in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Cape Verdean Creole. And we're getting services in place so that we'll have language line services available for families that speak other languages that our staff don't speak. Our clients are considered extremely low income and low income. We provide parent education and basic needs such as diapers, baby formula, food, school supplies. We also do home visiting services. So that's for new moms and new fathers, helping them to have parenting skills. And we also provide home visiting services for dads that are trying to build better relationships with their children and their families. Our home visitors work throughout Eastern Connecticut, but our building right in Norwich, we get a lot of people coming in off the streets for services. As an agency, we've worked with 526 families this year, and of those families, 227 are from Norwich. So that's just from July 1st, 2021 to now. We are requesting CDBG funds for our new program that we're developing called COPE, Community Outreach Plus Education. So this is going to be a drop-in center that families can come, get quickly assessed, and then referred to any of our programs that we have that can fit their needs, but then also connecting them throughout Norwich to other nonprofits, but then also to the region if there's any other nonprofits that can help them more specifically. So I think that's it for me, and just any questions.
Okay, any questions from the committee members? Everybody's so quiet. I have a couple of questions, just some clarifications. This is for a new program called COPE. community outreach plus education. And the one question I have, I read through all the programmatic and operational parts of the program, but there was one section in there that said that co-program will help address some of the safety concerns from Madonna Place clients and staff. There were a couple of times that talked about maybe some, I don't know, unsafe, not necessarily unsafe, but trying to upgrade some safety, I guess, physical safety. But the application didn't address how any of that would be done or how much money would be put toward that. Or
sure, the building where we are, we've had most of our services at the back of the building. So this is going to allow us to open up office space right on Main Street. And we're also right next to the liquor store. So there are some interesting characters on Main Street that will ask for money and all sorts of stuff. So we're just hoping to get that office space open, that it will help make more of a presence for the agency right on Main Street, you know, to really discourage the loitering out front or kind of hanging out around that area. And I think help, let's see, so the bus station has now, with the Rotary, the bus station is, not station, but the bus stop is right outside of our Franklin Street door. Now us having staff right at the front of the building will allow us to help a mom come in right through the front. And we have a nice lobby there that we're going to be using. So if it's raining, she can just come in with the baby carriage and quickly get helped.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So are you going to keep the door on Franklin Street accessible or open? Or is that?
Yeah, what I want to really have is there's going to be no wrong door policy. So really any door that clients come to, we're going to have processes in place to help get them served as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that answers that then. I was just curious what the physical safety issues were. So you explained that. So, okay. And that's the only question I had. Does anybody else have any questions?
None for me. Thank you very much.
Okay, Claire, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Have a good night.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is Immigration Advocacy and Support Center. It's number 6 in the book. And who do we have here?
I don't know if we do.
It doesn't
look like it.
Okay, is there anybody here for the Immigration Advocacy and Support Center?
Nope.
Hearing none. Okay, then we'll pass that one by. Come back to it if they do make it in. We'll go to the next one, which would be TVCCA Home Again. And that would be number 7 in the book. And
John Paul.
Okay, great.
Yep. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. So I am John Paul Mandelberg. I'm the Director of Housing at TVCCA, and we are a community action agency that's been incorporated since 1965. And we've applied for funding for specifically our Home Again project. This project is our homeless prevention and diversion program, working with households presenting throughout Eastern Connecticut, but for the purposes of this funding, those originating and remaining housed in the Norwich area. Our project operates, as we heard from Kathy from Thames River program a few moments ago, within the larger Eastern Connecticut Coordinated Access Network, which kind of is a partnership of local providers working to either prevent or quickly address periods of homelessness for single and family households presenting. And some of the supports provided within this program are any that would help to ideally prevent homelessness. So that could look like rental arrearages, security deposits to obtain a new unit, though we don't always necessarily have to provide financial assistance. A lot of our presenting households are supported with just mediation supports. So we do provide a blend of both financial assistance and always some supportive services. At the end of the day, the ultimate goal of the program, as I mentioned, is to assist the household in preventing homelessness or to quickly rehouse them so that they don't have to enter a local emergency shelter or wind up unhoused or unsheltered altogether, but also to equip the household with increased autonomy and any other peripheral resources that they might need to maintain their housing stability. So that might look like an internal referral to one of our other programs that we offer within the agency, such as our WIC supports, our energy assistance program, early childhood education programs, and the like. For our purposes, these CDBG funds would be 100% allocated to client assistance. So assistance provided directly to property owners on behalf of the presenting household. We do work, as I mentioned, I know we've heard about how to track folks within Norwich. We do work with households throughout Eastern Connecticut, but just to give a sense of scale, for our last full program year, we assisted about 91 households. 32 of those were from the Norwich area. And those 32 households required financial assistance, and we worked with an additional 16 households from the Norwich area with just mediation supports and negotiating with landlords to avoid homelessness, but also without that financial assistance. So kind of in a nutshell, that's what our program is about, and seeking funding to continue doing, but happy to take any questions you all have as well.
Okay, thank you. Any committee members have any questions? Hearing none, I have just a couple. I know a lot of times, especially in today's world with the COVID and all that, that a lot of times you're a coordinated access network that you work with, which is very good in this area. Tremendous group of people. You guys have all the organizations working together. It seems like a lot of times it's comes down to working with NPU and Norwich Human Services and some of these other groups. There's sort of like stacking money, you know, a little bit of money from this for that purpose, a little bit of money, and most of them have a cap per person or per family. And does your program have a cap on what just out of curiosity more than anything else?
Yeah, and good question. A lot of the other funding sources we partner with do have those caps. I think of like Emergency Food and Shelter Program, which typically has a cap through FEMA, but we do not. That said, we do try to be as strategic and realistic as possible with finite resources, right? So we often work with the households in establishing kind of a personalized or individualized housing plan that might look like them partnering with the financial assistance. So maybe it's a 70-30 split, for example, where we're providing 70% of the arrearage and they're kind of coming up with a payment plan with the landlord to kind of stretch those funds. But we don't otherwise have necessarily a cap of funding per household.
Okay. I know you guys have a full service organization there that helps with their, you know, to teach them how to do finances and to teach them how their life system. So it's a great program. So I just was curious about the cap. So that's the only question.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Liz.
No, that was all I had. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, I guess we're all set. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Okay, the next one is OIC of New London. That's number 8 in the book.
And we have
Good evening.
Yep.
Good evening. Sorry, my camera doesn't work this evening,
Okay.
but I hope you all can hear me clearly. Good evening. My name is Nikisha Grant, and I am joined tonight with my Director of Education and Training Services, Roberta Travers. We present to you the opportunity to address a crisis that has impacted parents and communities across the state. a lack of childcare workers for daycare centers. Lack of childcare is one of the major barriers individuals face outside of transportation needs and food insecurities, and it has an impact on employment, schooling, short and long-term planning goals for individuals who do not have outside natural supports and require a daycare facility. OIC of New London County is an active partner of the New London School Readiness Council as a workforce development training partner and has been asked to assist in addressing this crisis through vocational training to fill employment needs in the daycare programs. OIC is requesting funding to host a technical training program for Norwich residents who have a desire to work in the field of early childhood education. The program design allows for low-income individuals to obtain the Child Development Associate credential and be eligible to work in local daycare centers as long as they possess a high school diploma or GED. This in turn will place individuals into gainful employment while addressing the daycare crisis. 2 weeks ago, OIC met with the Office of Early Childhood Education Commissioner, Beth Bai, and her team, who have offered OIC the opportunity to help assist in the pilot of an early childhood education program, providing that funding is secured. With CDBG funding, the organization will be able to launch the program to Norwich residents who are low income, place them in employment opportunities that can lead to post-secondary education and a pathway out of poverty. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And any committee members have any questions? Yes, yeah, Mark.
Well, you know, of course, the obvious question is always, because this is a regional program, do you have the capacity to determine what percentage and allocate resources to just Norwich residents?
Yes, we do. We currently, OIC of New London serves the county. So we currently are running 2 programs in Norwich that's dedicated to Norwich students only. I call them students, but one is at Norwich Regional Adult Ed. We're running a CNA program currently. And we also run a domestic violence program, which is under the Court Support Services. We have a contract for Norwich only. So we're very experienced in just serving the city of Norwich, but OIC, we serve the county in its totality and the business that we do.
Mark, if I may, Roberta Travers, OIC, and I just wanted to also reiterate what Mrs. Grant had said. For this particular pilot, we are focusing on Norwich residents, and we have we are connected with TVCCA, Little Learners, and their Head Start program. And there is such a need for staff. And it's a very like and kind thing that we want to focus exactly on the Norwich resident and the Norwich daycare need at this moment. It would be a small impulse pilot. And as Mrs. Grant mentioned, the commissioner, OEC commissioner, has put a lot behind us to sort of light the fire, if you will. And so we'd like to see Norwich be the center of the flame.
Program becomes successful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So you all set there, Mark?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I do have a question. Also, this is basically on the budgeting for the program. This is to teach or educate or to certify people to work in the early childhood education. And does OIC actually do any of the training or the education, or is it just, or is it an organization that hooks them up with training opportunities?
No, this is all OIC run. So actually, Roberta is, she's the Director of Education Training Services. She's a state, Connecticut State certified teacher. So she would actually be the point person to launch the program in Norwich. And then depending on its success, we would launch similar programs around the county. We do currently have another major funding opportunity in the works to pilot this program, but we wouldn't contract another agency to do this. OIC would actually do the work.
Okay, so the actual training is actually performed by OIC.
Correct.
Okay, great. And there was a, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Mr. King, I currently am registered. I'm Roberta Travers. I'm currently registered on the OIC registry and credentialing as the oversight. I've submitted the curriculum for review, and it's been also looked at by the commissioner.
Okay, that's great. I was reading through the application. It was hard to pull that out that you guys were actually doing the actual educational part of it. That's why I asked that. I thank you for clarifying that. And I do have just one other question. This is under other expenses, a little over $7,000 for testing and credentialing.
Yeah, so this is the amount that will go to actually, we have to pay for the credential. And Roberta, I guess you can give a little bit more on that. So we have to put in the cost to actually pay for the test that the students have to take to get the credential.
So the CDA Council in Professional Oversight Council in Washington, D.C. requires a number of hours of training, and in addition to that, a portfolio completion, an application for licensure or certification. Those fees are a fixed fee for each individual. It's an initiated fee of about $400 per student, but then after that, the renewal costs are much more manageable. I think tri-annually $100, and they collect CEUs as they train. And truthfully, the need is so great that to see this serve Norwich, and then to help sort of bridge the gap from the workforce development piece to the post-secondary education, where individuals would start to collect credentials at the community college level and be able to use the new transfer to state colleges. By 2025, it will be a requirement, and by 2029, that qualified staff need to have the CDA credential and college credit. And just today, on the number of the different centers struggling to fill these slots. And
Mr. King, we look for the students to not pay anything. So it's a free program to the students. So that's why you see in the budget line the fee for credentialing and for the testing, so that the students don't have to pay for any of the services that they provide. All of OIC programs are free of charge to the student, including the testing fees that's required to get them an industry recognized credential.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. That makes sense. Absolutely. Okay. Well, anybody else have any questions? Okay. I think we're all set. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
Yes. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, it looks like the next two that were on the agenda for today, Department of Public Works, it doesn't look like we have anybody with us. Is that?
Here.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
There he is.
JP's there. Okay.
Yep.
So we can go to, this is Department of Public Works Prospect Street Sidewalks. That's number 12 in the book. And JP, if you'd like to go right ahead, it's all yours.
Muted.
You're muted. There we go. Oh, there. Looks like you're still muted there, JP.
Is he muted himself?
It
Muted.
looks like there we go. Okay, there we go.
Okay, can everybody hear me well?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I wasn't ready, to be honest with you. I was just trying to get my stuff together. So probably one person dropped out, or the presentations are short.
No, we're just
They run
keeping-
quickly, which is
we're
good.
just staying
okay.
staying
Very
on
good.
track.
You do have one missing, but
I will do the
Yeah.
same. I will do the same.
Okay, sounds good.
So
Thank
why
you.
don't we start with Prospect Street? I will try to share my screen. Let's see.
oh, I might have to let you do that. Hold on a second.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was looking for that.
Control freak here. I have to.
Yes, yes. We've been burned. We've been burned before.
Yes. Oh yes.
Oh, yeah. We're not
All right.
going for that again.
Nope, we don't want to repeat.
No. Okay.
All right, give me 1 second, guys. Let me grab that here. And CDBG, Prospect Street. Okay, here we go. And I will share that with you guys. Okay, Zoom.
Did you just tease him or did you really give him?
No, I really did. He really has permission.
All right, can everybody see my screen?
I can. Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So for those who don't know me, my name is JP Laguerre, and it's a pleasure for me to be here this afternoon to talk about the sidewalks on Prospect Street. As you know, the city has a sidewalk program where interested parties, residents, they can have the city do the sidewalk for them, and they have 10 years to pay it back. Or they can choose to have a contractor do their sidewalk, and the city will reimburse them for the granite. But what I've noticed so far, not a lot of people, especially on Prospect Street, in this area there, choose any of these options, because most of these houses there are not, the people who live there, the residents, a lot of them don't own these houses. And the landlords, I'm not saying they don't care, but they probably either don't want to invest in sidewalks, and that's not a big concern for them either. You know, some places in town, we replace brand new sidewalks with minor cracks in them because the homeowners, you know, they call us and they say, hey, we need to replace this the sidewalks. And sometimes I see, I'm looking at the sidewalk, I said, man, these sidewalks, there is absolutely nothing wrong with them. But this is not the case for this part of town. This is the part of town where people, they don't, I want to put this as aptly as I can. It's not a big concern due to the fact that it's a poor area, low income area. So the concern is not sidewalk. I think they have bigger concerns than that. So that's why we choose this area of town to for sidewalk, for CDBG grants. And just like the way we did for Baswell Ave, and I'm sure you guys have seen how well Baswell Ave came out. It's we get calls every day, you know, people complimenting us on the work that was done on Baswell Ave, and it's because of you guys. It's because you guys made it happen, really. So we're asking for the same thing for Prospect Street. I will share the pictures with you. I mean, this is what we're dealing with on Prospect Street. The sidewalks are in really bad shape, and they're downright hazardous. Okay, because somebody can trip on these. Up too far. And this is an example of a ramp. This is a ramp between intersection of Prospect and Howard Street. So we're not even talking about meeting code anymore. This is this is dangerous. All right, and yeah, and the sidewalks are characterized by areas like that. You see grass growing in the cracks, and the sidewalk slabs are lifted. So some of them are tripping hazards. So this is an actual ramp on Prospect at 6th Street. This is not even a ramp, really. But I think the sad thing is we never get a call. We never received a call from anybody on Prospect Street because they have resigned themselves to this type of conditions. So it's almost like when you look around, when you grow up in a certain type of environment, it becomes all right. It becomes okay after a while. And I think this is what's happening in this part of town. People don't even complain. They accept it as is. This is the way it is. And so that's why I think we need to do something about this. And I have a cost estimate, and I believe, let's see if I can get to that. So we're asking for $358,634. It's a lot of sidewalks, guys. It's a lot of sidewalks, but I think the city has already invested in this part of town. A couple of years ago, I was the engineer for the reconstruction of Prospect Street, and it was awful. So the city put in a lot of money on Prospect Street, and I think we can finish the job by doing these sidewalks, make it right. And I know the city wants to invest in the poor areas of town to make them, you know, to bring them to beautify the city. So I think if any part of town deserves this, it's Prospect Street. It's this part of town. I don't know if you guys have any questions. So we have actually about 30 or 31 addresses that need sidewalks.
Okay. Okay.
Do you guys have any questions for me about this?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Well, I see a unit price of $16 a square foot.
Yes. Yeah, $16 per square foot. Sidewalk ranges from $11 to $16 per square foot. However, but the way things are going right now, it could be $16. I haven't done a sidewalk lately when the economy shifted, when everything started to happen, war in Ukraine, and so I don't know. We don't know where this number will fall. Is it gonna be $14? Is it gonna be $17 even? We don't know. So, but the numbers that we have in town, this is a real numbers that we're using. These numbers are based on quotes that we have previously received from contractors. Any other questions, please?
Yeah, Mark, are you all set?
I'm doing the math on it, and it works out to something like $450 a yard for concrete. Now I realize that that's not it's just not concrete that you're putting down. You're also having to excavate, level, yada yada.
Yes.
But $450 a yard for concrete, it just doesn't, really compute to me, especially when you add on your granite curbing. And, I understand that the ramps are you looking at the property owner and sending them a bill?
No, we're not sending them a bill for this. Mark, the granite curb that you mentioned, they're on a different line item. If you look at we have, for example, 1,528 linear feet of granite curb at $58. So the number that I showed here for sidewalk, the granite curb is not included in that.
I actually, yeah, it's like a tenth of the lineal footage. Oh, the square footage. The square footage would be how wide's a sidewalk?
Yes,
5
correct.
feet.
Yes. Over there, the sidewalk ranges from 5 feet to 10 feet. I've actually measured some sidewalks over there that are 10 feet wide.
Well, from my particular point of view, $360,000, I'm a round number person, is virtually, it's something like 80% of, if I were full system, it's 80% of what remains in our budget. So that means you would be the only, virtually the only group that got anything. And oh, by the way, and then you would never get to Columbus Park.
Right, I understand that.
So, if $11 to $16 is what it costs per square foot, I'm a little skeptical about that, because a square foot of sidewalking is only a third of a cubic foot. And I can do the math and figure out how many cubic feet there are in a yard. 9. So that's 27 square feet times 16 is 1 yard.
Mark, if I could break in for 1 minute, this is Gemma. Excuse me. I completely understand where you're coming from and why you want a breakdown of that, and I'm sure that JP would be willing to go ahead and provide just a further.
Yeah. No, I beat the horse to death.
Yeah, well, no, that can be arranged.
That being said, I don't think JP would probably have. And hi, JP. It's nice to see your face. Always. But I'm sure that he would probably be able to provide you a further breakdown on that. I do know that just with supply chain issues and with just the past year and so that, costs have just, they're nowhere what they used to be.
Definitely.
And so I think that this may obviously contribute to that. But that being said, I'll leave that to JP if you wanted to go ahead and maybe provide just the true costs of, what we're looking at for today with regards to replacing sidewalks. But I did want to bring up a point where Prospect Street is located in the CDC. I should back up. The CDC provides, has what's called the NSVI, or a social vulnerability index. And the social vulnerability index is comprised of basically sort of four different indicators, which which identify the vulnerability of a specific area or specific portion of a population within a town. It's done by tract, T-R-A-C-T, as opposed to a town. We all know that the saying, you know, on the other side of the tracks, or this or that, and we all know that, you know, certain areas of town may be more impoverished than others. Certain areas of town are much better. So in any case, these areas are divided by tracts. Forgive me if I'm speaking to the choir here, but in any case, so the CDC bases this SVI on tracts and certain indicators of a high vulnerability would be, for example, English as a second language, or housing density, where it's extremely close, or lack of transportation, or lack of education. Lots of different indicators, and I'm not going to get into them all right now, but it goes from 0% to 100%. And if you're looking at 95%, for example, all that means is that only 5% of the rest of Connecticut is considered at higher vulnerability. So this is a very, I mean, this is a 95% SVI would be obviously a prime area that within the city of Norwich that CDBG funding would be targeting. And so I have to say, GP, that Prospect Street itself lies within an SVI ranking tract of 95%. I mean, this is everything that you're saying and more. And I think that it's so, I mean, it's heartbreaking to think, you know, that somebody just, where you never would receive a call from anyone on Prospect Street because they're so inured to it, because people that are living there right there think that that's what they're going to get, or that's all they have, or perhaps they don't have the resources, they don't have the knowledge to know how to then provide the statement on the dereliction of the sidewalks or whatnot. But I just thought that I would just mention that Prospect Street not only it's just ranks so incredibly high that I think that resources should be provided absolutely to an area like this. That's the whole point of this program. And so, you know, I mean, or if you provided a greater comfort level to Mark Marcy with regards to specific just material prices, but I think there's a lot of merit to looking at this application and you know, doing what you can there.
Thank you, Jim.
For explaining the vulnerability index. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I can share if you like, I can share my screen if you'd like to see that. Would you like?
I'm really good with Google. I could probably figure it out.
Okay, so you can just go to SVI, Social Vulnerability Index. Don't go to, well, you could go, obviously your Google would be a Google search bar. So go to.
Actually, I have academic resources.
Yeah, so, but CDC has it right up there. So you can go to CDC SVI, Social Vulnerability Index, and they should have a map of the entire US. You can zoom down in to not only Connecticut, but Norwich itself, and you can see how it's divided by tract, and you can see how darker colors would represent higher tract levels, and you can see exactly where Prospect Street falls.
Thank you so much, Gemma. And Mark,
Okay.
I am willing to work with you to send you any information that you may require. Just so you know, when somebody called the city and asked the city to do their sidewalk for them, this is the number we quote them per square foot. We quote them $16 per square foot. The reason we quote them $16 is we've had instances when people where we do side, because it used to be, we used to quote people $12 to $13, but we've had situations where the sidewalk, when it's said and done, the quote that we give them, the price, the final price is higher than what we quoted them, and they think the city is trying to take advantage of them. So we decided to be more conservative and go with the higher number.
And just as an FYI to committee members, one of the things that is required under CDBG funding is this is a Davis-Bacon job, so the wage rates are higher.
Yes.
Yeah, and this also has to go out for bid. Is that correct, Kathy?
Yes, this has to go out to bid. So
yeah, okay. So the number could change.
Yes,
depending on what's going on at the time,
definitely.
because we keeping in mind that this money doesn't come in until this fall. No telling what the numbers will be at that point. But
right.
Yeah, but I do have a question along these lines too. As long as we're talking about different neighborhoods and the sidewalks. You know, years ago, the neighborhood NRZ in Greenville is the one that really started requesting from us sidewalk money. And that's why we did all of the sidewalks on Central Avenue. We put all of the period lighting in over there, and we also put all the cameras in over there out of the money coming from block grant funding. The idea at that time also was Central Avenue was so important because that was the commercial district for Greenville. And the idea at that time, all the conversations was to have the biggest impact per dollar would be to put it on the commercial area so that everybody in Greenville standard gets raised by raising everything there in Greenville. The idea back then also was once Central Avenue was done, the next spot would be to move over to the next commercial area in Greenville, which would be North Main Street. And the reason, this little history thing here, the reason I'm asking that is, mentioning that is, does Norwich sort of have a big plan for sidewalks, or do we just sort of hit and miss or arbitrarily pick a neighborhood, or what is the big long-term plan for sidewalks in Norwich? Does Public Works have a plan on that?
Unfortunately, Mark, because of the cost of sidewalk and lack of funding, we can't do the work that needs to be done. So with the funding that we receive, we could barely get the ramps. I'm not even talking about sidewalk. I'm just talking about the ramps, the handicap ramps. We could barely get them done. So that's what we've been doing. Every year we try to compile to put together maybe 20 ramps and get them done during the summer. And which is what we did on North Main Street. Thank you for mentioning North Main Street. That's what we did. We hired this, we put it out to bid, and this company, Clover Construction, did 12 ramps for us because there was this lady who was in wheelchair, and she lives in Greenville, and she kept on calling us and telling us that she can't go to the store because our sidewalks don't have proper ramps. So we had to do 12 ramps just to get her from, to be able to leave her house to go to the store.
I've never had a problem with the ramps, other than, I think last year or a couple of years ago, there was the spreadsheet was somewhat inaccurate. But other than that, but I'm still kind of confused why some homeowners pay, if they decide that they want to have their ramp repaired, they pay for it. But we're going in front of homeowners' properties on Prospect Street, absentee landlords, and replacing their sidewalk. And I know it's a quasi, ownership issue where they're required to maintain the sidewalk.
Yes. In Norwich, it used to be way back then that the city was responsible for all the sidewalks. The city, if a sidewalk needed to be fixed, somebody would get on the phone and call the city and said, hey, the sidewalk in front of my house needs to be fixed. How about it? So the city would send somebody and get it done. But because of lack of funding, the city of Norwich does not have enough money to take care of sidewalks on behalf of people. That's why at some point, maybe in the 90s, we started going the other way. So we tell people it's the responsibility of the abutting homeowner to take care of their sidewalks. But at the same time, we do understand that some people, some neighborhoods, this is the last thing people would fix when it comes to their house. It's the last thing. So that's why whenever we have some capital money available, and it's not often, then we would pick an area and do some sidewalks there. But like I said, it's a big city, and we just don't have, in order for us to do the sidewalks for everybody, we would have to increase taxes in this city. And you know already where that would, how people would feel about that, Mark. So it's not really an option. Yep. So is it, but I do understand where you're coming from. Is it fair to replace sidewalks in front of some properties and not in front of others?
Well, it's fair to repair all sidewalks. It's just who pays the freight. If you repair the sidewalk in front of my house, I would be paying for it. You're repairing the sidewalks in front of absentee owners, property owners, and I'm still paying for it. Well, actually, I'm not.
Yes,
HUD is, but
I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Okay. I think why don't we go ahead and move on a little bit. One thing I would recommend though really is possibly to try and come up with a program, a look of sidewalks in the city and sort of plan how we chip away at it instead of bouncing around. I would highly recommend that the city take a look at that and say, prioritize the sidewalks, because not what I mean by prioritize is if there's some money to do sidewalks is what's the big plan that the city has for sidewalks, which would come out of Department of Public Works. So I think that would really behoove the city to do something like that. But anyway, let's move on. I think we're pretty well done with this. Does anybody else have any questions that we haven't already discussed on this one? Okay, hearing none, let's go to the next one, which would be Columbus Park fence replacement, and that's number 15 in the book.
All right, thank you, Les.
Yep.
Let me grab that here. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say thank you to you guys for providing the funding to get this fence done. So as you guys remember, last year, I had asked for money, CDBG money, to get the fence done. And this fence is in very, very poor shape. And I did get $40,000 to replace this fence. But what happened is, and this is the same thing we started talking about, Mark, because the economy turns, nobody could do the fence as we would want them to do, because we wanted to install a wrought iron fence similar to the one in front of NFA. I have a picture somewhere. So when I started getting quotes, putting this project out to get quotes, the number was coming a lot higher. The numbers were coming a lot higher than we anticipated. So $40,000 could not cut it. I could have used that $40,000 and put an aluminum fence instead, but I don't think we would do this area justice by putting any type of fence there. I think that if we're gonna remove this fence that's there, this place deserves a fence that can at least hold the car, because there is a drop there as well. And I think the fence that we would like to install can have a dual purpose, not just being a nice fence, but also can hold some, you know, God forbid somebody leaves the street, and this fence will be able to at least guide the car back on the road. So that was my concern over there, and that's the reason I chose to return the money to Kathy. I had a conversation with Kathy, and I said, Kathy, there is no way I can do this fence. I can have a contractor come, remove the existing fence, and install a new one for $40,000. So though I was grateful for this money, but we could not do it for that. So I started sending requests and, you know, trying to find out how much somebody can do this fence for. And I have a better picture now how much this fence would cost, and that's why I'm asking for $84,000, $84,700. That's the only way we could get this fence done properly. And the way the economy is going, the price of steel has increased, labor, everything, as we alluded earlier, everything is more expensive these days. So so a project that you know a year ago you thought you could do for 20,000, now it's 35,000. So it's the same thing here. I thought we would be able to do it for 40,000, but it didn't. I couldn't do it for that amount. So that's why we're back again. This is back on the table, and we're asking you guys to consider this project. And I'm sure you guys are familiar. If I can show you a picture of the existing fence, it's really in bad shape. The picture here somewhere. Of course, it's the last one. All right. So this is the fence that we're talking about. And you guys have already invested a lot in this area, the low-income area. So I don't think it's the time now to give up beautifying this area that you guys have started doing great things here, installing all these sidewalks. I hope all of you guys had a chance to walk these sidewalks, new sidewalks that we installed. I think this area is really.
John Paul, while we're on that, I want to let you know that I'd like you to take a walk down Boswell Avenue and see how many of those railings are already broken.
Oh, yes, I'm aware of that. There is one rail that was broken because this contractor was doing a wall and he backed up into the railing.
No, there's a lot of them that have come apart.
So he was nice enough and honest enough to call the city. And today I called him and to follow up. And he said he was gonna install, he got all the pieces, he was about to fix them.
Yes, I'm just saying it's not just that one. If you could take a walk through it.
Okay, I will.
There's quite a few that are broken.
Okay, I will take a look.
Okay. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Any questions? I think from the committee. Was that all you had, JP?
And that's pretty much it, because we've been there before. You guys are familiar with this fence. This fence is old. It's in bad shape. So I was proposing a fence similar to the one in front of NFA, and that's what that fence looks like. This is NFA, and they have this nice wrought iron fence. And every time I go by there, I said, man, this is such This is so beautiful. I know this picture doesn't do it justice. It's a little bit far, but I think this is what this area deserves. And if you look at this fence here, this does not meet code anymore, because this area here, the opening here, is about a foot. Nowadays, any home inspector will tell you this should not be more than 4 inches. This is more than a foot. So a child could easily go through this fence. So this type of fencing does not meet code.
Yeah.
Current code.
Okay.
So it's hazardous to have this here right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you guys have any questions for me?
Questions? Going once. Any questions? Okay, I guess we have no more questions. Thank you, JP. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And Mark, if you want me to send you any information regarding the pricing for sidewalk, I can do that.
Well, please request it through me, and then I'll get it to John Paul, and I'll send it out to the whole committee.
Yeah, you want to do, why don't we do that? You know,
Okay.
just for the committee. I think that's good to know, because I think that was a question that several of us had before we even started the meeting, just curious about the new numbers coming in. So if you could do that, that would really help.
Okay, very good. I will.
Okay.
And thank you so much, guys, for your time. I really appreciate this.
Yes,
and I don't live in Norwich, just so you guys know, but I care for this city, and I'd like to see great things happen in Norwich, because I used to live in Norwich when I was younger.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you, JP.
Yeah, great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it, JP.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Okay, so that we didn't have Immigration Advocacy and Support Center. They didn't make it in.
Well, we wanted to clarify that. Tian looked it up. She used the email that was on their application, which was the incorrect email. So she will email them and try to schedule them for the next meeting.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good.
So we don't think they ever got notified because of, they had an extra letter
Yeah.
in their mail in their application.
Whoops. Okay.
That's
Okay.
it.
Well, that sounds good. So I guess that was all of the presentations for tonight. I know, Kathy, you had a couple things you wanted to discuss.
So on communications, I just wanted to go that we let you, the committee members, know in particular that we did get a resignation from Sean Barnes. And that is because he applied for funding under the Neighborhood Renovation Training Program. That application is also pulled from consideration this year. As a committee member, since you do have considerable input, if you want to submit funding for an application, you need to resign, be off the committee for a year, and then you can apply for yourself or an organization. So Sean has resigned. This application is pulled. He may reapply next year.
Okay.
So that's why we've been so late in meeting. I've had to go through ethics committee. I've had to go through HUD ethics. I've had to have the corporation counsel provide, statement. So it's taken this long for us to get to a point where we could meet, because we couldn't meet and have Sean present at any of the meetings.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So we're keeping it clean.
Okay. Sounds good. Was there anything else that you had, Kathy?
Yeah, the only other thing I have, and when I get the numbers, we'll be ready for deliberation, but we're looking, just so you know, when we're looking at this amount of money in applications, I am looking at recapturing some of the coronavirus funding that we got from small business program. That would be eligible for funding things like parks, playgrounds, those types of things. So, I'll be able to get you a number closer to deliberations on how much we're looking at.
Okay, so the number could.
So you'll
Yeah,
have
go
a
ahead.
little more money to play with.
Okay, and also
just-
the money that the JP is given back from Public Works, will
That
that
will
be
be
added to our
included.
total?
Yep, that'll be included in a reallocation.
Okay, and do we have any other recapture funds that you
No.
see on the horizon?
Nope.
Okay, and the number that is provided to us as far as total funding that was sort of projected, the 876,000
Yep.
plus what JP gives back, is that still a good number? Have you heard anything else in the background about numbers changing?
We haven't heard anything about numbers yet. Typically, we get something in April from HUD that tells us exactly what the allocation will be. We haven't
They
received
told
it
us
yet.
last month it should be. So
Yeah.
When we met.
So we should be getting it anytime, and that will give us our final number, but we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, okay, okay,
So we should have it by the time we go to deliberations.
okay, good, good.
And,
Mark?
you know,
look-
just so
yeah, go
everybody
ahead.
knows, and
Yeah.
I think you all do, I'm retiring, so I'll be leaving the city. My last day in the office will be June 6th, which is a Monday.
Wow. That's gonna be rough. You're gonna be missed.
Woo, woo. I will do something else, but I don't know what it will be yet.
Yeah, well, you can come and be on our committee. Help
Yeah.
us. If you, once you move back to Norwich, that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't
So-
qualify.
That's where we
Sell your
are.
retirement house and, yeah.
I'm too young to do nothing, but
Right.
You
Well,
know.
that's the right thing to do, what you're doing.
Too old to work for the city.
I'm too old to do this, but I'm too young to do nothing. So that's the plan. We'll do something, but not till after the summer,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. Well, does anybody else have anything to bring up for the group?
I'm
The,
just gonna
the
say,
next-
Kathy, you know, you're gonna be missed. That's about it. I mean, you know, everything, we're gonna miss you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the next meeting will be on the 19th. That's going to be the remaining non-public service applications and two from Human Services. Notice we had to switch them. It was the town budget hearing. And then deliberations are scheduled for the 26th. So it'll be a week in between all three, but I'll separate agendas and Zoom meeting invites and everything for all those. But just to give you a heads up, that's what we're looking at.
And I'll be running the Zoom meeting next time because Tian will be in Mexico.
And Kathy will
So
be
good luck
running.
and God bless you all. We will all have a laugh.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, if there's nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a second? Second? All those in favor, aye?
Second that.
I'm like, come on, come on.
Okay, and all
Good night,
those
all.
in favor?
All right, we'll see you
Okay.
next week,
Aye.
guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Take care.